everyone, welcome to the Kaleidoscope Quilt class. I want to talk to you a little bit about what kind of fabric you need to buy and what not to buy and how much you need and a few other tricks and tips on how to cut it. So first of all, let's talk about what to buy. This is a few pieces of fabric that I've pulled out, and I wanted to show you what you need to look for. The fabric that has a little bit of small things and a lot of some big things and not a whole lot of background is your best purchase for the kaleidoscopes, Dresdens. So this is a great one, not a whole lot of background. I've also have this piece, which works really good because there's a lot of little motifs in it, some big flowers, a lot of color. This one also works, has the big and the little, not a whole lot of background. And this one works also, even though it's monochromatic, it still has the small, the big, and this one would work great. Also, we have what we call a magic mirror. This one's made by Marty Mitchell, but it's a great little mirror that helps if you have one, or maybe your quilt shop has one. You can ask them, and it opens up, and you need to make sure you have 10 repeats, but you can go down the piece of fabric and see the different kaleidoscopes that it's going to make for your Dresden plates, which is a lot of fun to use. So the other thing I want you to look at when you're picking out fabric is the repeat. You have to have 10 repeats, 12 inches, or at least 12 inches. You can have 24, 18, but it needs to be at least 12 inches. And you say, how am I going to know what the repeat is? Well, let me show you. The repeat in the fabric, this is one. This would be your next one, and it has the same repeat. This one happens to be a 24-inch repeat. Another way you can tell is your fabric on the selvage has this color. On every selvage of fabric has the color, it has what color is used in the fabric, but number one and number one here is one repeat. So you can tell how many repeats is in that fabric and how wide they are apart. So that's an easy way to tell. Just look for the numbers, and that's a 24-inch repeat. Remember, you have to have at least 12. And you need to have 10 repeats of the 12 inches. Now, in the kaleidoscope Dresden pattern, it says minimum of 5 yards. Well, if you're purchasing a 12-inch repeat, you need to go ahead and go up to a 5-yard piece of fabric so you'll have enough for your border. The fabric that you don't want to buy that is a little bit less pretty when it's kaleidoscoped into a Dresden is something that has a lot of background fabric, and it has all small pieces. You need the bigger and the smaller. It makes a great, more interest, and it makes the kaleidoscope, the Dresden kaleidoscope better. So this piece would not be a good piece to buy for the kaleidoscope Dresden. This is one that you don't want to buy either. It all is little and it has a lot of background. And here's another one. It's really busy, but it's all small, and so it doesn't have the big and the little, so it doesn't kaleidoscope as well. They would all look the same. And lastly, I love this piece of fabric, but it still has a lot of background. Even though it has little and big, it has a lot of pink background to it. So that is what to buy and what not to buy. So let's talk about the quilt behind me a little bit. This is your big Dresden block in the center. It has little, what I call prairie points. And in your pattern, you'll have, this is an accent prairie point. So when you're wondering what that is, these go around the center block only. And you can sew them down, or you can leave them just flopping to make it fun. Accent. This is the keyboard border of the quilt, and we are going to try to get this part done during class, and also we're going to make a star block and this section. If we can get that done for our 2.5 days, it's going to be amazingly fun. So one more thing I wanted to point out to you while I'm here is that these little blocks in the corner of the star block is on your pattern. It is called a star points for the star block. And that's the star points for the star block. But it also has, let's see what it's called exactly, corner triangles on the star block. These are your corner triangles on your star block. So when you start looking for fabric, you'll know what each part that you were trying to look for and where they go. So this is your first border. It is attached to the set-in triangle, but we call it first border because it looks like it's continuous. This is the keyboard border and the third border. This fabric on the outside is the border that is made from all the kaleidoscope Dresdens are made from, is the outside border fabric. So I wanted to show you how to cut the fabric when you move this out of the way. And so what you're going to do is you're going to find your repeats. First of all, let's cut the border off, because you don't want to cut all of your border and then have to piece everything. So here's my fabric. I'm going to lay my fabric across, and I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to measure over 7 inches. And I'm going to cut. Now if you're right-handed or left-handed, you'll flip your fabric whichever way, but I'm going to cut 7 inches off from the selvage. So after I cut 7 inches off all the way down my fabric, the lengthwise of my fabric, now I have a piece that looks like this. So I'm going to cut where my, let's see if I can get this turned around so you can see where my repeats are. This fabric is a 12-inch repeat. So here's one repeat, here's the other repeat. So I'm going to cut this off all the way using my ruler, measuring it here. Now fabric mostly has a repeat this way, but it also has a repeat going the width of your fabric. So this is my repeat, the same repeat as here. So I want to line it up to make sure I have my fabric even. And then I'm going to cut this piece. And when I get this piece cut, I'm going to take it and put it on top of the next piece so I can line it up exactly. So I have 10 pieces exactly the same after I cut my border off. Okay? So what that's going to look like is this. And I've already cut this into strips, but I'll have 10 pieces of the same identical fabric. And so then I'm going to line them up on top of themselves, right side up. All the fabrics are the same, right side up. And I'm going to take a needle and put down in my flower at the same spot every single place. And then pull it out the bottom and then stick it back up and give you a tie, just a knot on the top. So you'll have a little tail hanging off. And so you're going to do your whole piece with the ties all over it, and you'll be ready to cut in class. We're not going to cut the fabric until we get into class with the kaleidoscope Dresden ruler, which I'm going to bring to class with me and give everybody the ruler. I don't want you to go ahead and cut this because I don't want you to mess up your fabric the first time, and it's going to be so much fun, and I don't want you to get frustrated. If this is too much, it's all in the directions that I'm getting ready to send you, but if you don't understand or if there's something that, that you're just not sure about, don't worry about it. We'll cut it in class, we'll have plenty of time, and it'll be fine. So don't stress about it. It's going to be fun. Also, I wanted to show you a little bit about the keyboards. This keyboard behind me has 6 colors, and I go from light to dark. I have 2 lightish or 3 lightish colors, and then a medium, and it goes to a different color, which represents the dark. And that's a fun way to do it, and then it repeats itself all the way around. You can also do it just different colors. You can have 6 different colors and just do them all different colors. And I've done that too, and it turns out so cute. But here's my example of the colors. I have light, and I have dark, and then this will be my accent border